Welcome to Business Mentorship, Keepin It Real, where we feature entrepreneurs and enterprise leaders who share their great ideas in our guest blog, found on shareyourstories.online. Our guest is Maya Amani, who is an entrepreneur who launched a new health and wellness product during the pandemic. We will discuss how finding your market niche through R&D leads to product innovation and sharing a great idea. And Maya joins us from Toronto, Ontario. Welcome.
Thank you. Hey, Trish, how's it going?
You know what I really loved about your story, Maya, is that you shared with us how the R&D process actually introduced you to another new product that you've launched as part of your offering. So give our viewing and listening audience a little bit of idea of how that R&D worked.
I mean, R&D is a whole other process that I could not have imagined. You know, you come up with an idea and you think you've got it figured out. Turns out you don't. You realize, okay, this is an idea. An idea comes from obviously like identifying a problem, having a solution, right? So here we are thinking we have a solution. We've done it. Oh my gosh, we're onto something great. And then you enter the world of R&D and the time-consuming world of R&D. Nonetheless, it was during COVID. So everybody was either working from home. A lot of manufacturing sites, facilities were either closed. So it was a very difficult time, you know, and I think for anyone that has launched a business during COVID can agree that it was a very difficult time to get work done.
Right.
While we had time, we didn't have resources, a lot of limitations, stores were closed, you know, everything was just either delayed. So it was a tough time. We go into R&D and of course we're dealing with Health Canada, right? Now, Health Canada has a bigger problem and it's called COVID. So we're no longer a priority. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we had to go through those challenges. However, it did take a long process of when we took our product, which is Allo, our protein powder for hot coffee. We went through the R&D of making sure that what we wanted to deliver to the consumer is what we were able to produce.
Right.
And that was a heat-soluble protein powder in a coffee application. It took time. The certifications take time. Stability testing takes time. Shelf life testing takes time. Regulatory compliance. And if you're Canadian and you're listening to me say regulatory compliance, you know what I'm talking about.
Right.
Takes time. It's just harder. It's harder to build a business here in Canada when it comes to R&D, when it comes to specifically food, beverage, supplement, nutritional, functional food products. When you compare the same process to the US or overseas, it's just a more stringent process here in Canada. However, comes with its benefits, because when your product is made in Canada, when your product is a Canadian product, everyone else around the world realizes what that means. And so it puts you at the upper hand because they know that our processes are very regulated and very, held at a high level. So while it has its challenges, it has its benefits.
So one of the things that you did is through the R&D process, and of course, just to clue in everyone, is that it's a protein powder that dissolves in hot beverages. So whether it's tea or coffee or maybe even hot chocolate, it's a wonderful way to increase your protein intake. And your target market was the busy families, the folks that are constantly on the go, who are maybe skipping meals and doing all of those types of things that we've all done, at certain stages in our career. But tell us a little bit about how the creamer came about, because, that I thought, wow, talk about an innovative idea. You come in with one set of solutions and you end up with another product that you can even launch at the same time. So how did that evolve?
Honestly, it just kind of happened. So what happened was we realized, okay, we have a protein powder that goes into coffee, tea, hot chocolate, matcha. And then we realized, okay, well, maybe for those that are looking for that added nutritional value, maybe they're looking for an alternative to creamer, maybe a low-calorie creamer. Because if they're looking to enhance their protein, right, they're already taking that step up. I want to do better for my nutrition. I want to eat better. I want to get more protein into my diet. And so maybe they want a creamer that's lower calorie, a healthier alternative for you. And so we said, you know what? Let's look for a creamer that can do that can perform. and we looked at a lot of creamers that are currently in the market. You know, you have to see what you're competing against.
Competition, sure.
And a lot of them were your, you know, traditional half and half, you know, I don't like to use the word fatty, but, you know, they have, you know, a lot more fat content.
Sure.
And that's what makes it taste
That's
great.
what they taste good.
Right? Let's be honest, taste amazing. The calories are high though. So for someone who is a coffee or tea drinker, you know, you might be drinking 2 or 3 cups a day. But then when you calculate your calories on the creamer, 2 to 3 cups a day, it adds up.
Sure.
And now that beverage that is kind of like your staple or your comfort drink is kind of adding all those excess calories that you don't really need.
Right.
And so we started searching for creamer bases that would, you know, kind of complement the protein. And in that research, we found that we wanted to go ahead with a sunflower-based creamer. And you know, just by listening, you hear sunflower, you're like, oh, well, that's got to be healthier. It is significantly healthier. And so we went ahead and kind of like, I guess, have 2 SKUs in the sense it's like 2 versions. We have a regular protein powder if you like your coffee black or you want to add your own creamer. If you do want a healthier creamer alternative, we have the protein with the sunflower-based creamer. And the cool benefits are, you know, of course, lower calorie, but a cleaner product, you know, very much more refined, very hydrolyzed. And that's a word that's becoming very popular in household homes, is they're learning that there's different grades of functional foods, you know, and just like a car, you'll have your entry level and then you'll have your sports package, right?
Right.
Very similar, same thing, you know, you can find the same product, but you can have it in 3 different grades.
Right.
So our mission here was, let's make a product that's going to be as premium as possible, as filtrated as possible, as clean as possible, as transparent as possible. We want to be honest with what you're going to take in your coffee. We want to be honest to ourselves.
Sure.
And so we went ahead and really kind of procured the best of ingredients and put it together, and we're able to deliver something that people are loving. And they love the fact that they can still enjoy their coffee with cream and not feel bad about it, right? There's no guilt, right?
Right. Right. Well, you know, the interesting thing is that you have this very powerful website. So, you know, I visited your website. I took a look. You've got a lot of wonderful retail partners, which are showcasing your product and selling it in store. But you also give people a wonderful resource of information with some great testimonials on your website. But in terms of launching during COVID, because, you know, I'm sure there's lots of folks who may have been in the same position as you, and their only option really was an online store because, you know, their target market in terms of the bricks and mortar was all closed. So how are you finding the transition of individuals? Because I've been talking to a lot of business people who moved to, say, a 90% platform of online, and they're finding that online sales have not dipped that much now that we've opened up, and, you know, that the retail stores are back open, you know, bricks and mortars available. We have that socialization aspect back to society. So how is that affecting your product offering in terms of what you're doing online as opposed to the bricks and mortar that are supporting you?
That's a great question. And especially during that time of COVID, so much has changed us without us even realizing.
Right.
Like even for you and I, the way that we were consumers during COVID was very different
than
we were consumers pre-COVID.
Right.
One of the challenges we had was when we launched in March of 2022, the challenge was things were still closed. Gyms were still closed.
Yeah.
You know, it was very essential business
services.
Only.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so that's not very ideal when you're trying to promote a product and you're trying to get the sample in the user's hand to try. You can't do that.
Right.
You cannot do that. And so we said, okay, either we delay our launch, but like at that time, who knew how long COVID's gonna, you know, we didn't realize. So we said, let's launch, and we launched primarily online. That was the only option we had.
That's right.
So now we have to work harder to convey a message, right, online. We have to work harder to create that awareness of this product. And because it's not a competing product, it's a new product, to be able to give that messaging is so hard to make someone realize that this is something new. This is what it does. This is a problem it's solving. Why don't you try it?
Right.
Right. So we had those challenges that we really had to navigate at that time. So while we started on complete e-commerce, we noticed that people were very receptive, and there were a lot of videos of people that have tried it, and they'll make their own video at home.
Right.
And the great
Yeah.
part about that social sharing is that social proof, right? So while we were struggling to convey the message through our website, there were users that are like, this product is great. I came across this online. You should try it. And that's really how that grew our e-commerce platform. And then you come look at about June-ish, June 2022, things started opening up more freely. We were able to introduce the product into stores. Now they've just suffered through COVID. They've lost rent, revenue, employees. So at that point, they're not ready to take on a new product.
A new product, sure.
Financially, it makes no sense. So we had to look at that. And of course, now that's a challenge for us. What do we do? And we realized that the strategy here would be, forget about the revenue. It's not about that. Let's focus on the education, and let's do some demonstrations. Let's go on a mini Allo tour, show people how to use the product, And so what we did was we did a lot of demos on site in stores, and the stores loved it. Because we were attracting people back to their stores.
Right.
So they appreciated, more than anything, they appreciated the fact that this is a really great way to come back out of COVID.
Right.
And so we would set up, we would make coffee. And of course, with the right food handling procedures now, post-COVID, everyone's still scared.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
And we would get the Tim Hortons, the large take 12 coffee, and we would have sample cups for people to try, And they really engaged with that experience. They learned about the product. They were able to sample it. And the stores were very impressed at the, just the overall response.
Sure.
And so that did so many things for these stores, especially the independent stores. It brought crowds in. It attracted them. They were able to get back out and say, hey, we're doing a demo. Come check us out.
Sure.
It helped their business up. And believe it or not, they've been selling aloe for months now, and they're doing great, and we're happy for them. And we're always happy to do a demo. We do that a lot. So it is fun.
Well, and that helps to actually build relationships, not only with the customer or the consumer, which you have, mentioned people are doing their own videos and posting them online, but it also helps you build strategic relationships and partnerships with the retailers. Because what a wonderful way now to have that realization that you were there to help them. And so now that they'll help you. So the reciprocity must be really great with some of those organizations.
It is.
One of the things that you mentioned is the US market. So, you launched in Canada, you've been in business now for, say, a year and a half or so. How is the US market in terms of embracing this new product?
Okay, well, initially, when we launched, we said, let's focus on Canada.
Sure.
We're Canadian.
Close to home.
Close to home. And to be honest, and I like to be honest, if we're going to make mistakes, you might as well make them close to home.
Yep.
Them up, clean it up before you start entering a different area. And so our focus was Canada for 6 months straight. It was Canadian market only. And now that, thankfully we are at a good state where we are seeing a lot of organic traffic, a lot of organic sales from the US market, and now a lot of organic proposals where they do want to bring our product in to their brick and mortar retailers as well as e-commerce channels. So those are conversations we're having right now. And I hope the next time you and I talk, Trish, I can tell you exactly what stores we're in the US. But we're seeing a lot of great engagement, even from the e-commerce side. Canadians post about it. It doesn't mean that Americans don't see it. They see it.
For sure.
We have been available in the US from the beginning. We've been available from our website as well as Amazon.com Prime. And, people love that. They love the idea that it'll be there in a day or two at their front step. The convenience is great. But now that we're entering that brick and mortar world in the US, I don't know what to expect, but I know I'm going to be very busy.
So one of the things that we've developed, on the Share Your Stories platform, we now have almost 300 international entrepreneurs like yourself. And one of the things that I've noticed is our viewing and listening audience is really interested in getting to know the person behind the logo, because it's so important in today's day and age. You've done the R&D, you've met all of the compliance, you've got a wonderful website. Those are kind of ticking off all of the boxes to get you up and running. But is there something that you can share with our viewing and listening audience about you as a person, as a mom, as an entrepreneur, that will give them a piece to say, wow, that sounds really great. I'm going to give that product a try just because I'm getting to know Maya a little bit better. So is there something that you can share with our viewing and listening audience about your journey that kind of gave you that light bulb moment to say, this is something I have to do?
Sure. When it comes to this journey, the one key word that I really focus on with my family, with my colleagues, with my team is transparency. We saw a problem that we could relate to.
Right.
If we could relate to it as just regular people, there are a lot of people out there that are probably facing the same problems. And it's not just with coffee or nutrition or protein, just in general, we're real people with real problems. As a parent, and to all the parents out there, we get it. It's hard. You're working, you're trying to manage a home, children, life, work. We get that. As a company, we understand that. And so I think the big important thing to remember is that although you see a company and you see a logo, the people behind there are just regular people trying to work hard, trying to make it happen, and we're all struggling through the same things,
right.
And I can understand how social media has changed that perception for people, and life may look glamorous, or some companies may look like, oh, wow, that's a dream come true. Behind every website, behind every logo, behind every product comes hard work, sweat, tears, emotion, chaos. I can go on about this. And the thing to remember for other companies and other entrepreneurs is that we're all in the same boat.
So true.
We're living our dream. And living it means that it comes with its struggle, challenges, setbacks, learning, mistakes, decisions, financial barriers, COVID barriers, compliance barriers. There's a lot of struggles, but we're all facing them, in different ways, one or the other. So that's something that everyone should really take with them, that we're all working hard. And staying connected and networked is so important, because you just don't know where you'll find that motivation, where you'll find inspiration. And that little bit might take you to finishing your day or your goals. So I think that's something that we all have to remember. We're all real people. Let's connect as real people. Let's help each other as real people. And that's what's going to keep us going.
But, that's a really wonderful message, because, you've joined us in our quarterly network sessions as well. And, that international flavor is the thing that I found most interesting is, we all live in different geographic areas. We offer different products and services, but you're absolutely right. We're all facing the same challenges. It doesn't, there may be some cultural tweaks here and there, but for the most part, we all have the same checklist. We're all trying to do the same sort of connection with our customers. And you're absolutely right. We never know where the next motivation will come from. And so tell me, is there another product on the horizon? Because what often happens, and I know when you're out there engaging with customers, some of our great ideas come from our customers, really, because they say, hey, what about this? Or what about that? Right? Yeah. So is there something, a new pilot project that's in the background that you're kind of thinking about, that in the next, year or so, you'll go through your regulatory R&D process, and then we may see some additions to your line?
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. We listen to our customers. Now, I can tell you that we really try to have good communication with our customers. And to all the viewers and all the customers, if you write to us, we will write back to you. We will respond. We want to be that kind of company. Right. Essentially, we launched in the packets. We thought, hey, people want convenience. We're busy, right? Let's do this. And then what happened was, months later, our amazing customers were like, we love the convenience, but we'd also like to see value, because we use it every day. Is maybe you could introduce a tub. And we said, okay. And then recently we launched the value side.
Fantastic.
Right? And this came from our customers, because we're thinking people are busy, they want the convenience pack, they want value as well.
Right.
And the customers would write to us, we'd love to keep tubs at home and then take the packs for on the go. And at that point, you know what?
Makes sense.
It makes
Yeah,
sense.
it makes sense.
So we launched the tubs, which are now available and have been available for a few weeks now, which have been doing great. Definitely a more value buy. And just so everyone knows, we are very cautious about sustainability. So we do use 100% PCR jars. So they're 100% post-consumer recyclable. And so we launched that in our non-creamer line. And now the customers are saying, well, where's the creamer tubs?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. One leads to the other, right?
And so now we're in the process of launching our creamer tubs, which should be released in the next month and a half or so.
Isn't that fantastic?
Popular demand. And so that's a new development underway, as well as a new flavor is being launched as well. So that's going to be very exciting, and there'll be a whole reveal about that.
Terrific.
It's fun. It's fun. We do have a lot of fun. We enjoy what we do, but we do listen to our customers. The feedback is so important to us and very valuable. Yeah.
Terrific. Now, one of the things that we do in the guest blog is we ask entrepreneurs like yourself to share 3 words of advice. And your 3 words are time, mistakes, and discussion. So give us a little bit of an overview as to why those 3 words are important to you and your team.
For sure. Well, let's start with time, right? One of the things that is a universal term. We're running out of time. Don't have enough time. And I hear that from everybody, not just in our industry, in all industries.
Yeah.
Everyone is battling time, right? And so that's something that we've learned here, that while time is so limited, we really have to maximize every minute we have. We really have to be efficient, and sometimes learning a process does not mean that that's the right process. We might have to come back, reevaluate, reconstruct, and optimize that process. And so that's when we've realized, okay, you know what? We're limited on time, but let's make the most of our time. It's hard. It's very hard. Another thing that's really important to our team is understanding mistakes. And this is a tough one. A lot of people don't like to either own mistakes, talk about mistakes, admit that, companies make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes.
Absolutely.
It's reality. I'm sure you've seen this in your experience. I've seen it here every day. And we have to change the way we look at mistakes.
That's very true.
Not just as a person, but as a team, as a company, as an entity. We have to look at those mistakes and really learn from them. Because if we don't, then that's our setback. That's the price we pay when we don't learn from them.
The mistakes give us an opportunity to grow.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's the only way we're going to grow. Mistakes will be made. And at that point, we need to, reevaluate, optimize, and move forward. And then a lot of people will tell you, this was a blessing in disguise, or this mistake ended up being and it's true.
It is true.
You can't see it at that moment. But a year from now, or anytime, we might be like, that was a really good mistake that we made because we learned X, Y, Z. So that's really important to our team. And then the last, there's a lot of things that are important, but the last from this key would be discussion. And discussions can be complicated, right? They can be controversial. Not all discussions are happy-go-lucky. They're not, and I think discussion is very important to any team. You really have to understand what other people are saying, where their process and thought process is coming from, where their experience is coming from. And when I say the word discussion, I don't just mean talking, I mean listening as well.
Right.
And
that's so true.
And sometimes it's hard for people to listen because they just want to express their view, but we need to listen and analyze. And having that process and understanding of discussion can better allow us to come to a conclusion or a plan where everything has been, and everyone's had an equal opportunity to bring their thoughts to the table. And that's important. It's really important. It's really hard to do as well.
For sure. Well, I really want to thank you, because this really was, for our viewing and listening audience, we say it's live and unscripted. And seriously, the conversation that we've had, I had no idea that you had launched, the tubs recently. So that was a really wonderful build. And the fact that, you're now organically starting to expand your product base, I think is really rather amazing. And kudos to you for taking the bull by the horns and saying, I'm going to do this. We're going to take the risk. I'm going to launch when it's not optimum. And, to your point, maybe in another year or so, we can reconnect. You can join us again on the podcast. You can tell us all the wonderful things that you've added to your product line, and you can give us some insight into how that R&D has sort of expanded. And maybe, who knows, you may be selling internationally by then. So we certainly wish you all the best. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Trish. It's been a pleasure.
To you, our viewing and listening audience, I'd like to thank you for joining us in this edition of Keeping It Real, where we introduced you to the person behind the logo. I'm Trish Tonai, founder and host for the series. And if you're interested in sharing your business story, visit our website at shareyourstories.online. Thanks again for joining us, and we look forward to meeting you next time when we share another great idea.